Join me in the kitchen today as I cook Janchi Guksu. Today's recipe is a little bit different. I'm actually cooking it for the first time. So pour yourself a glass of wine, I've got one there, and let's cook it together. Check out the recipe below in the description to see the one I'm using. Come on in, don't be too shy. Here's the ingredients. It looks like a lot, but it's all very common things. Most of this I had lying around the house already. The most important is our Somyum noodles. Okay, they're thin noodles, they have to be cooked in a certain way. And I'll show you that when we get to the time. And then we've got all these ingredients. Don't worry, there's a list down in the comments or in the description below. Let's begin. Janchi Guksu is a very important Korean meal because it's associated with weddings. My wife and I, our 10-year anniversary is coming up soon, so think of this like a trial run. As it gets closer to the day, I'll cook a really good Janchi Guksu for her. Will today's one be good? Well, we'll find out at the end. But for now, I'm excited to get in here with these ingredients and try to make it. So it's a little bit more relaxed in the kitchen. We're just going to cook, we're going to see how it goes, and we're going to go through the steps together.
That smells delicious. I wish you were here to smell it. Alright, so let's julienne these carrots. You need it to be pretty thin. You want it to cook very quickly in the soup without being too mushy and still maintaining crunch. You can slice up your mushrooms a little thinner than I'm doing here, but I don't mind big chunks of mushroom for me. The green pepper, that's going to add a bit of flavour to the stock. So when we're doing our dappa or green onion, you need to save the big pieces. Save half of it to put in with the stock and the other half to go in with the soup. And we'll take out the big pieces once the stock is finished preparing. Julienne the zucchini because that's going to be placed on top, almost like a little bit of a checkered pattern. And we're also going to fry it before we put it on top. And our anchovies. Now these, like I mentioned earlier, they smell horrible. Now me and my wife weren't sure on what to do with this. She said just take the heads off, but I'd seen something online where they said keep the heads but take the middle part out, essentially the stomach. I took the heads off. I went with what she said. Better safe than sorry. If it tastes horrible, I can just blame her. And if it tastes great, I can say, of course, well, we followed the recipe. So we've got all the things in there to make the stock base. Don't forget the peppers. These green peppers, they'll add a bit of flavour and a bit of kick to it. And about 1.4 litres of water. So that was 2 of these. Just fill that up. Play it by ear. If you do add too much water, you'll have to add a little bit more soy sauce or something to salt it later on. And if you don't add enough, it's going to be too salty. So just play it by ear. Make sure you taste your soup as you go. Anchovy stock just to add a little bit more flavour. And I might not like anchovies, but this actually smells really good at this point. And don't forget the most important thing, our wine. We've got 15 minutes, so pour yourself a glass, finish the one you're on, and let's enjoy this together. So that's cooked and it's ready. So what we want to do is remove all of this. You don't want that in your soup. Take it out, use a strainer. Don't lose your stock, right? So I put a bowl under there. That'll catch everything. Better than trying to pick everything up by hand or using tongs. Return it to the boil, back in the pot, and get it boiling again. Now we can flavour it with the things we want to keep in here. So you can see everything I'm putting in there. And once again, the smell, the minute I add that garlic, the smell is wonderful. The kitchen just smells of this delicious, sort of almost fishy, but a nice fishy flavour. So at the very least, I know my kitchen's going to smell great. The mushrooms go first because they take longer to cook. Pretty much mushrooms, they take a while to cook, so you want to get them going longer. Otherwise, they won't cook right. You get more flavour out of them. Our zucchini, only a minute. Cook that quick and cook it fast with a bit of salt. Now here's the noodles. Now I mentioned earlier there's a special way. So first put them in, obviously, boiling water. They're not going to cook for very long, so make sure the water's boiling. Some people add oil to this. I just did it like this. Give it a little stir. Now the minute you can see it boiling over, that's where the foam comes up and it looks like all the water's going to come out of the pot. Add a splash of cold water and it'll calm it down. And now we wait. So that's 1. Here's the second time. This is 2. So keep count. If you're watching at home, we're on number 2. And any minute now I should get my little bit of water to throw on there. There I go. And now we wait for the 3rd time. And once it does it the 3rd time, what we're going to do is take it off the heat. And our noodles are ready. So off it goes. Drain them. And now this is an important part that people often forget. Run it under cold water. That's easy because you want to stop them from cooking. That's what the cold water does. But now we're going to scrub it. So we actually want to get our hands in there once it's cool. And almost like removing the starch. So rub them in there like you're washing it. Once that's going to do, that takes the starch out to stop it clumping together. And you'll find that it makes the noodles a little bit easier to work with later on. When you want to do a little, turn them, or you don't want big clumps of noodles together when you're trying to eat it. There we go. Stock's basically done. So our julienne carrots go in with that half of the green onion that's cut thin. I probably added too much carrots there. Next time I add a few less. Bring it back to the boil. We've got to make sure those carrots are at least cooked. And now we've got our eggs. That's 2 eggs that I've whisked up. And that goes in as well. Now you don't have to add the eggs. If you're not a fan of egg or you don't like the colour, you want to keep that very natural broth flavour and the texture, then just don't add the eggs, that's fine. Give it a good mix and look at that. That's perfect. You can see the broth there. It's almost a little bit milky. Delicious. Now I'm trying to be fancy here. I'm going to do that, get my tongs, give it a twirl, and this is for plating. This is all for fancy. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to. Just chuck it in a bowl and put the soup on it, right? You don't have to be fancy like I'm trying to be here. So 1 turn. Now this is where a little bit of magic is going to happen here. I'm cheating. This is not from the day. This is actually from the next day. So when I cooked this the next day, I actually had a bit of meat lying around and I added that on top. And that was a game changer. So I highly recommend when you cook this, if you have any thin bits of meat, it could be pork or steak, put it on top. So you can see me doing it now. This was delicious. My wife loved this. She said it was fantastic with the meat on top. So yeah, definitely do this. She said this was amazing. When I cooked this one here that we cooked the second day was delicious.
Alright, we made it. We did it, guys. We cooked Janchi Guksu. Is it delicious? Well, I'm about to find out. So remember though, if anyone here is interested in Korean cooking or Korean culture, hit the subscribe button. I cook a new Korean dish every week. And sometimes it's a new Korean dish, like today. It's completely new, brand new recipe even for me, doing it for the first time. So let's see how it tasted. Oh, better than the restaurant. Of course I would say that. It's actually much better than I expected. Wonderful. Cheers. Come back. I'd call that a success.